Hey, Lori here at Freedom Within. Thanks very much for choosing to join me. Are you wondering if TRE is for you? I'm doing this series of little videos just to try to demystify TRE. I've been doing it for myself for 12 years, and I'm really excited to have learned so much about my nervous system, about my shaking tremor mechanism, which TRE reactivates, and it's really transformed my life. It's really not only that, of course, but it's been the one tool that I added to my already very committed self to returning to my truth, my freedom, and just my health and a state of well-being. So, big T trauma, small t trauma. David Berceli, the founder of TRE, this is what he experienced was big T trauma. He actually spent a lot of time in war-torn countries. So he wanted to help himself and thousands around him. That's what really inspired him to invent or to create TRE so that people could start helping themselves. Other examples of big T traumas would be any kind of abuse, natural disasters, domestic violence. I think you get to the idea, big T trauma. TRE can definitely help that. It already is helping people with that, but it must be taught by someone who is also trained to work with PTSD or to work with mental disorders and regulate medications. Because what's going to happen is the meds are going to get affected, probably because TRE is naturally down-regulating the nervous system, and many of the medications are artificially doing so. So all of a sudden, dosages are out of whack. So you know, people really need to be working closely with their doctor, their therapist in regulating this. So for us as TRE providers or training don't have that background, then TRE is not so safe with those people. So what is small T trauma? That would be more myself. I can't say that I've experienced big T trauma. Small T trauma is life's little stressors that build up over time. We say that up to about 50 times in one day, our nervous system's alarm bell goes off, goes off, goes off. And all kinds of adrenaline and cortisol are pumped into our system, maybe opioids, along with many other chemicals. Somebody cuts us off in traffic. Our alarm clock goes off in the morning and we're in this really nice, big, deep sleep. Somebody says something that threatens our personal identity of who, you know, we've been made to believe we are. Yeah, so threats are not only to our physical body, they're also to that personal identity. So in the run of a day, this happens many, many times. We are designed to get stressed and then release it back to a balanced homeostasis, get stressed, learn something from it, come back down. But instead, we live in a society in an age that's taught to keep everything in, even been conditioned to stop our shaking mechanism, so it's built up, built up, built up, built up. So there's always these levels of adrenaline and cortisol pumping through our system from all of these little daily stressors that happen. Next thing you know, we're at a point of overwhelm. Because we don't know what to do anymore, we feel helpless, our coping mechanisms aren't helping anymore. This is what's considered the difference between stress and trauma, the small T trauma. So I myself had lots of that. I grew up believing that I was really small, low self-worth, low self-esteem, non-deserving. I also felt I wasn't good enough, kind of that's all in the same story, I guess, and you know that there was something wrong with me, and so I really worried a lot. I used to wake up and I would just go, I wouldn't feel normal unless I had something to worry about. It was such a habit. When I first did TRE, whenever I got up, you do it on the floor, lying on a mat. Whenever I got up, I felt my legs under me. I felt my mind calm, my feet on the floor, and I hadn't felt that forever. And that's because I had been living so high in my nervous system, it was just normal. I had to feel a lower level of grounding in order to know what was available to me. Just like now, there's more levels available to me, but I only know the level that I'm at now until another level gets discovered, and so goes that journey. So regardless if you have big T trauma or just an accumulation of small t trauma, TRE is going to be very helpful. It's your natural tremor mechanism. Just make sure you're doing it with someone who is qualified to work with you. I'll finish just by saying, how can TRE also help us both physically with our bodies, even though we don't have big T trauma, and how it can help us with our thought and behavior and belief patterns that I just talked about that I was carrying around myself. So physically in your body, what it can do is, as it calms down your nervous system and unwinds old tension in your body that you've been carrying around, all of a sudden your health just gets better. You're more mobile, you have more flexibility because you're not carrying all of this stress around with you. And all the energy that was going to keep you in a protection mode is now available to go to your digestion. It's now available to go to your immunity, to your reproductive system. It can really help with not going to these habits that we have, because we now have all this energy going to that area that maybe before wasn't able to go because it was so caught in fight and flight, in survival, in protection mode. With the thought and behavior patterns, doing TRE grounds your nervous system, so it gives you more space in each moment rather than being reactive, kind of going from here. Now you've got more space, so you start to see all of these thought and behavior patterns that you're in that keep bringing the same results. So an example of that is, for me, because I felt quite small and I felt quite shy and not so confident and felt less, I had this nervous laugh, and I also isolated or shut down within me a lot. So whenever somebody would say something, if I got upset, uncomfortable, angry, frustrated, I couldn't voice that. My mechanism was to get really quiet, go inside, keep it in, or just kind of have this nervous laugh like a front. And so as I did TRE, I started to recognize how this was the case for me. So in the moment now, I had more space. If something happened I was uncomfortable with, that I can actually voice something, that I can actually take a breath and not go into that same mechanism, which then brings much different results. Of course, it still happens. I still go in there. Those habits still come up. Those beliefs still come up, but they have less and less power because I have more and more space to look at them. I see that they don't have to take over, and I don't have to log into them, which has been very, very transformational for me. So I hope that helps you realize that maybe TRE can help you even though you don't have big T trauma, and that if you have big T trauma, to really make sure that you're working with someone who's qualified to do that. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really hope it was useful. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my next videos coming up. I'm going to cover what is regulation and how do we do it and why is it so important in TRE and in life. Thanks for being here. Have a fantastic week. And Sawadee Ka from Chiang Mai. Bye-bye.